Okie doke. So before we move into that, let me just swap across to Bridge. So this is where I get a crick in my neck. Let me just share with you the screen. There we go. You seeing Bridge on the screen okay, Jay?
Yeah, mate, seeing it clear, mate.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm not using any fancy software today at all. I'm just using Bridge. It's usually where we use it for most of our kind of editing and raw and everything else. It kind of all goes through Bridge. It's much quicker. But we can also use it as a full screen view. As I mentioned to you before, basically here are all of the images that were selected to the second cull. But in fact, it's only the blue images that the red ones will not be in the viewing folder any means. So technically, what I will be showing is the slideshow, and I would also have the JPEGs ready to go. When the client comes into the viewing room, now I'm only using my laptop today, so I can't show you this fully, but really what we would be having here is the big image. So in other words, this image would be on their screen eventually, but on my computer screen, I would be having the Bridge window here. That's the same with the likes of Pro Select and Fundy as well, okay? So we can, as long as we've got dual screens. On Bridge, I can't actually set that up to work with Bridge in here, but Pro Select and Fundy, I could be showing you exactly the same as I could actually be running on my PC with Bridge. So in fact, when they come into the viewing room, what we would have on screen is the MP4, the Animoto itself. Ooh, I've lost it. Let me just bring that onto your screen here. Bring it up. Let me just... Okay, so that would be on the screen when the clients are coming into the viewing room themselves. I know some photographers have the client's name on there, whatever it be, and I think that's a great idea as well. But as far as the Animoto is going to be the first thing to play, so that is where we're going to do. So when the client arrives in, I'm going to run through a little bit of a scenario for you now to actually see a kind of a flow and how it all kind of works together. So we're greeting them in reception, we're saying hello, great to see you haven't brought the kids. Little Molly looks like she was a handful for Mark, but basically, can I just say to you before we go to the viewing room, the images are fantastic. He's knocked it out of the park. All right, coffees, okay, I'll get those for you now. Just grab a seat for a minute, grab the coffees. Right, come on through, guys. We'll go through to the viewing room, and we take the client through. So if you'd like to grab a seat, and we'll put the coffees down actually on the side tables and so on. Did you first of all bring your price list with you? No? Let me get one for you then. So that's where we get another one out, we hand it to them, and that will be left with them now, and we open it up in exactly the same way as we do. So as Mark mentioned to you following the session, today we're going to be choosing your favorite images and everything else with it. So we're going to start with a bit of a slideshow, absolutely amazing. Don't worry about trying to choose anything at that point. Why? Because basically we're going to go through them 2 or 3 times, and we'll choose the best of the best as we go through your favorite images, and then you can decide exactly what you'd like. The one thing that you might like to know, though, that is most of our clients go for one of our albums, and the great thing about the album, they pretty much contain all the photographs, so you have a good idea. Now, I hand this to them, and basically as soon as they hand it, it's going to be on their lap until the end, unless they decide to put it back on the table in front of them. It's going to be their choice. Okay, let's just pause there for a minute. So the first thing that we're seeing here is a projected image. We're using our short throw projector today just because it's brighter, just actually in this environment, but we'd usually be using our digital projector, which can be zoomed, so we can change the size of the image. We're not reliant on the likes of software to be able to change the size of the photograph. But as far as this projector is concerned, it's throwing up the image. I don't mind if you had a small space, what it is. If you need to use a television, you could use a television without any trouble. But as I said, with the reveal wall, it's a whole different kind of styling of viewing. But if anybody wants, we can do an in-person sales based on a reveal wall at any stage. Just let us know in the chat panel. In fact, it's probably a good time to actually put in the question panel topics that you'd like us to actually try and do with the live training that we're doing over the next few months for as long as we can. For free, of course. So just drop those in the question panel to Jay and he'll make a note of those anyway. Okay, so I've introduced them, I've given them the price list, I've talked about the album. Now I can actually just go, okay, so let's have a look at the slideshow. And at that point, the lights would go down a little bit. We just hit the play button and then it would kind of go off and play and things really. Now, on GoToWebinar, video doesn't really show very well as a screen share and so on with it. So I'm just going to stop that. But Jay, we have put that live, have we, on the Photographer Academy Facebook page?
Yeah, it went live yesterday, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. So if you want to go over to the Facebook page later on and have a little look at that, perhaps you can put it in the chat panel, Jay, for them to go across.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
You're a star. So the whole point is this is going to take around about 3 minutes them to be going through, okay? What I didn't explain is that we're really looking at time within the viewing room, okay? So with the introduction, with the Animoto, we're looking to be at the end of slideshow stage by around about 5 minutes. It might be 6 or 7, but we need to be at the end of slideshow by 5 to 6 minutes because everything is paced. I know it sounds really bad when I talk about time management and everything else, but now in the next 15 minutes, so by 20 minutes or at the worst 25 minutes, we need to be at favorite images, okay? I don't care if it's 5 or 10 or whatever it is, but probably in the way that we were showing you before is large on screen, where that client is making a choice, whether that is a favorite or not. So in other words, once the Animoto had finished, it would come back to the screen and we go, okay, so let's start to choose our favorites. We'll go through them nice and slowly. We can go through as many times as you want and we'll just choose the best of the best. So I would go through it, add in a numeric number to the images as we're going through to make that selection. Add in the likes of a number to it that would be in the star rating going through it and so on. But it's just all about going through. So you can see we've even got some really funky images like this. And it doesn't necessarily mean the client is going to buy this big for the wall, but this will look great in an album and it'll look great on an exhibition stand and so on. It'll be a little bit different. And obviously that's what people remember us for rather than just the normal. So again, all just going through it and you would just kind of go through one at a time, listening to them. Now, if you've got a client that is very bad at making decisions, you might get to the end of all the images and they haven't said anything at all. Just go, do you know what then? Let's go through them from the beginning again, shall we? And we'll just go a little bit slower and I'll ask you the question, is this one of your favorites? Probably it's going to have about 20 to 25% of the time if your body language, you're not listening to them or you're not watching them. And that's one of the good things. If you're off to the side and being able to watch them instead of sat behind them, you don't get to really see what's going on. Even if you're off to the side of them, it can work well. So when we're going through it, basically what we're looking to see is the favorite images. Let's get them to make a choice. And then from there, we can start to actually talk about, is this their favorite image or not? Okay, so let's imagine we've gone all the way through. We've gone through once or twice. Basically at this point, we've now got images there. We've got 13 images, in fact 15 images in all. Some of them they said, oh my God, I absolutely love it and so on. Now the complicated thing about this family is that, remember I was saying, excuse me, we've got 2 sister-in-laws, yeah, and each of them has got 2 kids. The dads would have been here at this stage because they're buying for their mum for Mother's Day, actually in the viewing. And what I've got, though, is one sale for the grandmother, in other words, of all of these kids. Yeah. Then I've technically got another sale of the lady on the left and her 2 kids. And I've got another sale for this lady and her 2 kids as well. So just there alone, I've got 3 sales in one I've got to do. So the first thing, because it's initiated for the grandmother's photograph, I'm going to start with that one. So I'm going to look at the family together. In fact, the main shot is the 4 kids together and so on and so on, right? But when we're there, we're basically at that point of that choice. So when we're kind of going through here, we've got our favorite images. And at this stage, I would want to start with the family images. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 images of the group together. So out of this, I'm just going to say, so they wouldn't be seeing this on their screen in a minute. Okay, they wouldn't be seeing this at all. They'd be seeing the Mark Cleghorn logo that is a part of this image selection. I would say we've got 4 images left of the family then. Should we choose the best one of that first? So I'll just give you a quick reminder. That one, that one, that one, that, oh, 3 in fact. Is there a favorite there? Oh, it's that one, is it? Okay, so let's imagine now that this is at 40 inches in size. It's the biggest size on my price list. That means it's the size that I start off with. So that's the 40-inch gallery. How's that for size? Shut up, and I listen, and I wait for a response. It's at that stage, they're either going to be knowing they've already decided, because it's a gift for a grandmother, they're going to be deciding on the default. In other words, they already know the size because they've decided on the budget before. That's why I said it's a little bit more of a complicated viewing than just a normal family, because they're going to be buying for somebody else as their priority first. That's the instigation. So if they said, oh, we'd be looking at the 20-inch for Mum. Can I have a look at that one? I said, oh yeah, kind of thing. So that is where we would scale the image down in size so they could see the 20-inch straight away. Now remember at this stage, if I can get this off, we did do a good Velcro job. There we go. That's luck. Don't break it, Mark. There we go. Remember, that's a 20-inch. Doesn't that look small? It really does look small on a wall and things, and that's why it's going to be a distance away. So, okay, so that's the 20-inch. So obviously if we kind of had that down to that size, what do you think about that for size? That's what I've got to ask them. And once we're there, we can start to make the decision from there. Oh, it does look a little bit, you're going to hear it. Oh, that does look a little bit small. Or that's perfect. Whatever it is, they're either buying on size or the price or the value for money. That's the key thing. So, okay, so that's what we're going to go for grandma then, is it? Yeah. Do you girls need the similar photograph of you girls as well? Are you looking for that? I've got to ask them because it's on the screen and I don't need to move on yet. And if they're looking for one for themselves, why shouldn't I start the offer at the 20-inch that they're at? I could even say, so are you girls looking for something for yourself as well, if the same photograph in this size or bigger? This size or bigger. So I'm just encouraging the sale. That's all it is. I'm talking, I'm asking a question. I'm not forcing them into anything at all. Once I said, oh, well, no, we're just really looking for perhaps the other images. Okay, so before we move on, though, we've got the other 3 photographs. Do we need anything of this? One for desk or for gifts? So you don't know that they might not be buying desk images for the husbands or even something for their wall. Remember, the husbands are in the room at this stage and they are part of the viewing, so they're going to have a voice as loud as these girls are as well. So once we've got that, we've basically done the viewing as far as the mother is concerned, the grandmother. Then I'm going to start on, okay, so should we look at Stella? Should we look at your images and the kids? Is that okay? So this is, let's say, Stella. And they're going right through to here. So I've got one of the 3 of you together, and then I've got 3 images of the kids together, and then I've got 2 individual photographs of Molly, and I've got 1 photograph of Brian. So just from there, the first thing that would go, so we've got these 3 of the 3 of you then. So it's that one, and that one. Now, the first thing I'll say is that this has had digital work done, okay? It had a leg slimming, and it has the crotch pushed up as well. That is to actually elongate the legs, okay? So I'm making sure that we're looking at the best of the best within this photograph as well. Look, and so this is a brand new start. So I've gone back to 40 inches now. And if they said, well, that's the favorite then, I'm going to go, how's that for size? I have to start back there again. And they're soon going to get into my rhythm of what we're going through. So that's the 40-inch gallery. At this point, I don't need to jump straight to the 20 inches like we did with Grandma, because of course they came in with a fixed idea for Grandma, but this is an open sale now as far as they're concerned. And it is hard when you're ignoring the other brother and his wife. I would always try and start off with the biggest sale. And you pretty much get to know. So I think Stella will spend more than Stephanie does. Yeah. So if I know that, the viewer will start with Stella rather than Stephanie. And if you think of it like that, it's an education, isn't it? Because what I don't want to do is put Stephanie's viewing in first, and she's only going to spend 100, 200 quid, whereas Stella here could be spending £1,500 or whatever it be. And I don't want her to actually feel embarrassed that she's spending a lot more money as well. And that's how we would do it. In every single way, we would run through each of those. So when we've kind of chosen the image, because we've got the next image of the kids, so if they went for, say, the 24-inch of this one, okay, so the other two images of the kids, are we looking for these of a similar size? I can ask them the question. The worst they're going to say no, all right? And then, okay, we've got the kids to buy themselves, those two. They look great as a pair. And whatever size we're at, so in other words, whatever size we left off at, if we left off at 24 inches, these are now at 24 inches, okay? Because I don't want to embarrass them by going back up to the 40 inch like we used to do once upon a time. And that, to cut it short, is the way that you do your sale. And just by following that through, at this point, remember we talked at the end of the PSPS, we got them into collections. At this point in the sale, we're selling a la carte. We don't need to move to collections yet at all. We would only move to collections if that client brought them up straight away. Mark mentioned following the session that most clients buy the Hepburn. We really like that idea as well. Those words of most clients buy is absolutely the magic words of all sales and things. So in that way, we're kind of really flowing it through. So once they've gone from the wall images, we want to remember, do not forget the album sale at the end. So I mentioned at the beginning about all the photographs would fit into the album. Are we both looking for an album from it? So because I've got multiple sales here, I have to say to both of them, are you both looking for an album? I want to know. Yeah. Sometimes we hear, oh, do you know what? We'll get one for Mum, and when she passes away, we'll have it. If I've heard that once in the viewing room, I've heard it 1,000 times, and it sounds so absolutely terrible when you hear it. But I know exactly what they mean because everything gets inherited down to it. So just to end off with, okay? Remember, keep to the sales script and don't change it. Don't leave it to the client when or what they want to order. This is the sales room. This is when they're coming to buy. That's when they're going to buy it. People like to be sold stuff as long as they don't feel pushed into it. I just did that. I helped them buy. That's all I did. Talk about the customer and not about you at any stage. So remember when you're talking about a 24-inch or a 20-inch for Mum. So when they're saying, oh, we like the idea of the 20-inch the portrait for Grandma. And oh, that's great. Where's that going to hang in the house? I want to know that, so they're thinking about where it's going to possibly go. Because as soon as they say the Firebreast, you know that most people hang a 24-inch horizontal on the Firebreast to you. I've got a chance to upgrade there. If you're listening, you're talking as well. Not selling your own portraits has its own advantages at times, especially if you haven't been able to create that confidence within yourself. Jay, anything to end off the setting up the sales room?
Yeah, I do have some questions for you, bud. These came up quite regularly yesterday. So one is in reference to the PSPS at the session if you're a location photographer. So how do we, and then we've been asked about how to transport the sales room to a client's home.
Yeah, it was a good question, yes. Yesterday. It's good that that's been asked again today, in fact. So the first thing I would do is have possibly an extended price list. So one that showed more of your wall art and everything else. However, I would be encouraging you to point the client towards a web page, perhaps invisible web page, where they can see all the products online, they can see some qualities of it, the handmade, the craftsman element, and so on. Or you could create a little bit of an app. Oh, I can see you've got an iPhone. Should I send you the link to the app for you now and things, really? So from there, they can actually send them more information and they can discuss it, actually, the portraits on the wall. And then you should be showing images of images on the wall and so on. Does that help, Jake?
That's great. And then, obviously, did you just touch then on how to take the sales room to the client's home? What to take with them?
Yeah, no, I didn't. If you're looking to do a viewing in the client's home, I definitely would want to take at least a 30-inch, and I would want to take a 24-inch with me as well. I know they can be a little bit hard to actually kind of get around, but if you think about it, if you've got yourself made a padded bag, and those are going to fit into it, I would definitely go for acrylic samples rather than glass, so they're never going to smash as well. But if you've got a padded bag and they go back to back, you're literally going to arrive with possibly only three bags in all, one for your laptop and your credit card machine and all that kind of thing, one for your 2 wall products, and then another one, a small bag for your print box, USBs, and so on. I'd make sure as well, if I could, that the client could just explain to me their television, or send me a photograph of their television so I know what kind of cables to bring with me, or if they've got a really old television, it means that I've got to probably take a projector along or whatever, and that's a real more faff. But yeah, working in the client's home for the sale has its advantages as well.
Brilliant. Last question I've got for you. When showing the images to the client, do you show variations of the same image, i.e. black and white and a colour, softening, different effects?
Good question, and the quickest answer is no. You only show one. That is your way that you want to present to the client. They're going to be choosing, so in other words, if I was showing the black and white photograph of X, but they've seen similar images in colour, if a client says, oh, I'd really like that one in colour, if that's okay, and that would be, oh, it's no problem. Or can I see that now? Well, you can't hear on the viewing, I'm sorry, but it's going to look identical to this one. So at least they can get an idea that it's going to look the same. But no, we want to show them one look and one feel.